You cannot speak generically about cryptos. Tell me the coin, and I'll give you. Bitcoin is garbage. It's got maybe a $200 residual value as a criminal token. If you're a tax evader, drug smuggler, or sad to say,
You're very opinionated, Jim. That's what I love about you.
child pornographer,
Okay.
that's your coin. But I make the point that the people who invented these cryptos, they're brilliant applied mathematicians, coders, and developers, and they know nothing about monetary policy. Why on earth would you put a cap on the total valuation? So Satoshi Nakamoto, who, for all we know, could be a team of engineers from Raytheon trying to suck in the whole world, get all the information in reverse, leave that aside. But Nakamoto hated central banks, hated the specter of inflation, even though we never got any, and just put a cap on the total number of Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin groupies say, well, see, there's a cap. So once we hit the cap and we're getting close to it, every Bitcoin will be worth more and more and more because the economy will expand, but there's a fixed number of Bitcoins, so Bitcoin can only go up because there are a few other relative to the size of the economy. That's nonsense, because what drives a currency is not the money in circulation. That's a base, that's a starting place. It's debt. It's debt and borrowing and credit. That's what makes a currency valuable. That's how you buy and sell and trade and invest, and it's all leverage. Well, if you fix the value of the currency relative to the economy and the economy grows, every unit of currency is worth more. It's inherently deflationary. That's what we talked about earlier. Well, who on earth wants to borrow in a deflationary currency? You got to pay back more in real terms. So there'll never be any borrowing, there'll never be a debt market, there'll never be a credit market, and there'll never be a currency. That's a fatal flaw in Bitcoin. And this whole thing about, it takes 51 or 50 plus, percent of the mining power to validate a blockchain. I run the computer, I solve the problem, I post it, the miners come in, there's consensus, yeah, that's good, Jim solved the problem, that becomes part of the blockchain, and you go on to the next block. They presuppose that nobody could get 51% of the mining power. Why not? I mean, an aircraft carrier is $7-8 billion. It's not like, if you think of it in war terms rather than, kiddie, video game terms.
Right.
What's to stop Russia from acquiring 51% of the mining power at a cost of billions of dollars, powering it with their own hydroelectric grid, and validating their own blockchain that says we own all the Bitcoins?
So it would just be taken over and completely hacked.
Correct.
Okay.
Not even hacked. It would be legitimately taken over by a consolidation of mining power and cheap electricity, and you couldn't do a thing about it. Bitcoin itself is just one cryptocurrency on one version of blockchain, and it's wildly popular. I know it's gone from $200 to $1,000 to $5,000 to $7,000. Fine, it just looks like a bubble to me. I compare it to the tulip mania in 17th century Netherlands. I said the difference is, at least with tulip mania, you got to keep the tulip. But the point is, I don't recommend. I don't own any. I don't recommend it. I do think it's a bubble. I do think it's going to collapse and leave a lot of people very, very badly hurt. Having said that, people take a different view. If somebody wants to take a punt on Bitcoin and hope it goes up, that's fine. But I do think this distinction between the technology, which is here to stay, and the particular currency, which in my view is probably a dead end, but there'll be other currencies, other tokens or coins or whatever you want to call them, other ways of keeping score, keeping count on the distributed ledger technology that will be a big part of the future. So for investors, in my view, the way to play it is not with Bitcoin, but with the companies that stand to benefit from this. Either companies that are doing the technology, like such that are actually developing this and improving it, expanding it, etc., or companies that can utilize it and make their systems better, faster, cheaper. So there are absolutely ways to play it. There are ways to profit from it. But if someone wants to take a punt on Bitcoin, that's fine with me. A couple of things on Bitcoin. First of all, a large percentage of the transactions are things that, at best, we're talking about drug dealing, tax evasion, money laundering, and arms dealing. At worst, things I don't even want to mention, more reprehensible than that. So that's what a lot of this Bitcoin economy. So these, morally and ethically, you have to ask yourself, is that the economy I want to join, number one? Bitcoin has not been combat tested in a business cycle. It was invented in 2009. We have not had a recession or a financial crisis since 2009. I've seen all these other asset classes through many business cycles, through financial panics in 87, 94, 98, 2000, 2008. I kind of know how they behave. So Bitcoin has not been tested in that arena, so that's one doubt that I have. So let's say you and I are Bitcoin miners, and the price is going down, and I call you up, hey, Keith, I'll sell you at 4,000, sell it back to me at 41, I'll sell back to you at 42, sell it back to me. And we just sit there all day. There's no P&L because we're just trading the same Bitcoins back, but we're painting the tape. And meanwhile, the sucker's like, oh, there it goes, head and shoulders up, no, a breakout. And they buy it. And all the tech groupies who love Bitcoin, they know a lot about tech and not so much about the markets. I'm immersed in both. I'm trying to combine them. But these Bitcoin exchanges, where people park most of their Bitcoin, first of all, they're all under examination by the IRS, the SEC, other securities regulators around the world. People lose sight of the fact that, so I buy Bitcoin for $1,000 and I hold it for a while, and then I go out and I use it to buy $4,000 worth of stuff, whatever it may be, okay? I have a $3,000 capital gain. I got to put that on my tax return. It's no different than buying IBM and selling it at a profit. How many Bitcoin people who do what I just said are putting that on their tax return? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to speculate there's not very many. Who's to say it won't be displaced by something like central bank digital currencies? And a central bank doesn't even have to destroy Bitcoin. They just have to come out with a better alternative, and then people will move away. I don't underestimate the importance of Bitcoin. I would make the point that most people, there's almost no one who really understands it, because everyone's focused on price and blockchain, and they're not really thinking about the water, as I put it, the environment that it's creating. What I do care about is the impact it's having. And I would say that's mostly invisible, that people really don't understand. But what it's doing, and this goes back to the point about being hallucinogenic, it's actually destroying the idea of money. What I'm saying is that Bitcoin might destroy linear concepts of what money is and lead to chaos.